It turns out that America is just one event away from becoming a nation of preppers and survivalists, or possibly zombies, depending on how it goes. Hi, my name is Mike Adams. I'm the Health Ranger. I'm the co-founder of TalkNetwork.com and the creator of NaturalNews.com. And this is something that a lot of people don't think about today, because our society is full of people who are so naive and gullible and have no view of history and no real perception of reality. They're living in fictional constructs that have been created for them by the media and Hollywood and the White House and so on. They would not consider themselves to be preppers, and they think that prepping is kooky. They think that being a survivalist is an extreme lifestyle. Anybody who wants to survive must be a domestic extremist. They should be on the Department of Justice watch list, right? But the point of this here to tell you is that, really we're just one event away from everybody being either a survivalist or dead. That's why I kind of mentioned zombies as a comedy comment at the beginning here. But what I mean is look, if the power grid goes down tomorrow, and by the way, Ted Koppel from the mainstream media has just released a book about the power grid failing and what we would do in how to survive in a post-EMP attack. So, there you go. Survival and prepping going mainstream yet again. If that were to happen, you would have, hundreds of millions of people. At first, they would sit around on their couches and just wait for the power to come back on at first, but it wouldn't take long, maybe 36 hours into it or so, they would start to freak out and panic, if their EBT cards stopped working, and if the tap water in their kitchen no longer produced water, because they think everybody that lives in a city, it seems, they think water faucets are magical devices that just produce water. They don't realize it has to come from somewhere. And if all these things shut down, the food supply, local grocery stores, suddenly shelves were wiped out and no more food was coming in, and the trucks weren't rolling, and just-in-time delivery shut down and so on, well then, you'd really have people start to divide into two camps, and one camp would be survivalists. And I think that would be the majority camp, by the way. I think most of the nation would say, I want to survive. And they would start to think about how could that possibly be achieved? How do I stay alive, right? I mean, come on, the survival spirit of a human being is usually pretty strong. But then there would be this other camp of people who would just, frankly, die out of, I don't know, stupidity, or maybe they still believe in the socialist leftist system of top-down government. Maybe they think the government's going to come save them. Oh yeah, the federal government wouldn't let us starve. They took care of my Obamacare. They're going to take care of my dietary needs as well. Some people think that. So they would just starve, I guess. Or they would, at some point, they would probably get hungry enough, they would start stealing or threatening other people to take their food so they wouldn't die. Who knows? Maybe they start out as denialists and then they become survivalists about 9 meals in, right? After you miss 9 meals, I think everybody becomes a survivalist, right? In any case, we're only one event away from virtually the entire nation becoming preppers and survivalists. Now, here's why this matters. If you become a prepper all of a sudden at the same time that everybody else is suddenly becoming a prepper, then you are basically screwed as a prepper because you can't acquire the supplies and the materials that everybody else is trying to acquire. We see this all the time, how people load up on water and flashlights and batteries and so on when a storm is approaching. There's a hurricane that's 24 hours out, and people raid the local convenience stores and they strip the shelves bare of all the supplies. It's because everybody all at once decided, all of a sudden they need to be ready for the storm. Well, if this happens on a grand scale across the nation, it means you're not going to be able to buy food. You're not going to be able to get flashlights, batteries, firearms, ammunition, medical supplies, communications equipment, sleeping bags, tents, backpacks, all these things that you should have as a prepper. I mean, even just basic first aid, hydrogen peroxide, povidone iodine, simple things. You won't be able to get them because you can't compete with 200 million other people who are all rushing out to the pharmacies and the stores and trying to also acquire or loot the supplies that you are looking for. And that doesn't even mention the whole pharmaceutical supply line, which will collapse. It's already in collapse right now, even without a crisis. But you won't be able to get your insulin, your antidepressants, your heart medication, your blood pressure medication, your psychiatric drugs. None of that stuff probably won't be available. But even more so, painkillers and antibiotics. Those are going to become barter items right there. And the smart looters, and there is such a thing, really, I should say the looters who are ahead of the game are going to be looting the pharmacies first. You know, the morons in any shutdown, the morons are the people stealing flat screen TVs from Best Buy. The smart people are the ones looting the painkillers out of CVS Pharmacy and Walgreens. Okay, so in case you're keeping score on the looter IQ scale, the morons are the ones stealing the TVs. Okay, just so you know, and the sneakers, the Air Jordans. If you're looting Air Jordans, you're not too bright. All right, you should be looting medical supplies. Or I'm not endorsing looting, by the way. I'm just saying on the spectrum of looting, there is a smart way to loot and there is a stupid way to loot. I'm not looting at all because that's a dangerous thing. You know, if you loot, you might get shot because some people are armed. Some business owners are armed and they're going to protect their property. So I'm not saying go out and loot, but I'm saying the looters who steal TVs are stupid. So all of a sudden, then you're going to have this whole nation full of people, and they're going to come to realize pretty quickly that the government isn't going to come save them. In fact, the government is more likely to enslave them. The government is likely to try to make them line up at FEMA camps and come confiscate their firearms, taking away their means of self-defense against the looters and the gangs. You know, the government is likely to come in and mess things up. That's what they did after Hurricane Katrina. I mean, FEMA comes in and just screws up everything. They'll have semi-tractor trailers full of bottled water sitting on the road, just baking in the sun while people are dying of dehydration. And I mean, they have no idea how to run anything. So if you want to be prepared, you better get prepared ahead of time. If you depend on the inventory of a grocery store, or if you depend on FEMA or the government to come save you, you are going to be out of luck. But it isn't really luck. It's preparedness. You're out of supply. You're out of time. And so you're out of luck. You know, they say people make their own luck. If you want to be lucky in a collapse, wouldn't it be lucky to find like an extra month's supply of food stored under your bed? Well, how's it going to get there? You're going to have to buy it now and put it under your bed yourself, because we don't live in a fairy tale land of magic. Otherwise, we could all just buy magic wands and you could wave the wand around anytime you wanted something. Oh, there's a collapse. I'm going to wave a wand and have running water again. Yeah. I've got running water. I mean, that's the way some people apparently think. So if you want to be lucky in a collapse, create your own luck by getting prepared ahead of time. Now, I find it fascinating that we come from a long line of pioneers in America who were all preppers. Otherwise, they would not have survived and we would not be here. And yet today, in our insanely idiotic society of political correctness and leftist thinking and socialism and big government, somehow the idea of preparedness and survival has become kooky. You know, tinfoil hat people, they're the ones who buy meals ahead of time. And yet, again, your ancestors would have died if they thought that way. Your ancestors survived harsh winters. Usually, I mean, many of them did, the pioneers that moved out west. Your ancestors went through tough times, like in the 1800s, for example. And by the way, if you don't think you had ancestors who lived in the 1800s, then you need to understand, you need to study genealogy and cause and effect, because yes, if you are alive today, you had ancestors alive in the 1800s. I guarantee it. So you had ancestors in the 1800s, and they did not have the internet, obviously. They did not have computers. They did not even have refrigeration. They did not have electricity. They didn't have automobiles, clothes washing machines, iPhones. They didn't even have rubber tires, for that matter, or combustion engines. They didn't have tractors. Well, they had to do things the hard way, and they were all preppers. They were all survivalists. You did not survive if you were not a survivalist at that time. And so this idea, this spirit of survival is bred into us, in essence. It's part of our blood. It's part of our heritage. It's part of our human history. You are the result of a long, long line of survivalists and preppers going back hundreds of thousands of years. And if you now have been propagandized and brainwashed by the political left to think that prepping and survival is kooky and strange, then you are the one who is kooky and strange, because all throughout the history of our planet, survival has been the default of every living system. You see, it's not just you as a human being and me, it's also every animal out there is a survivalist. Every plant is a survivalist. Every tree, every fish, every ecosystem is into survival and preparedness. Why do you think squirrels bury acorns? You know, why do you think plants store energy in the winter so they can re-sprout in the spring? Why do you think plants produce seeds? Everywhere you look across the planet is one of survival and preparedness. That is the norm everywhere. And it is people who are anti-survival and anti-preparedness who are truly the wacko crazy people. And by the way, they won't be around much longer, because the next event that comes along that challenges your survival skills will, by default, eliminate those who are not into preparedness or survival. They will collectively win the Darwin Award and remove themselves from the gene pool, thereby reinforcing the survivalist property of the human gene pool. And that's why we will be survivalists for a very long time, generation after generation. Interesting thought, isn't it? Well, thank you for listening to this episode of the Health Ranger Report. Please support us by visiting our online store at store.naturalnews.com, where you can find the world's cleanest, laboratory-validated superfoods, nutritional supplements, personal care products, shampoo, chemical-free products, just about everything for your home and body and health that you might want, including supplements for your pets as well. Everything is laboratory-validated in our forensic food lab, and we don't sell something unless it tests clean. I think we're the only online reseller to do this really extensive testing of everything that we sell. If we don't like the lab test results, meaning if it's not really, really clean, including with heavy metals, then we don't sell it, period. We have free shipping on orders over $99 and a satisfaction guarantee on everything that we offer. So check us out now at store.naturalnews.com, and thank you for your support.